Oh man, it's good to be back. We had to miss a week last week.
Yeah. I got a question for you, Adam.
What's that?
So let's talk about Steam for a moment. I love Steam.
Okay.
Steam's great.
All right.
So I was downloading a couple new games this week, and of course, drive space is always a struggle. And so I started uninstalling things, and as I installed everything else, I say everything, a lot of other games that are installed are like, hey, I need an update. I'm like, okay. I guess it was like, Tuesday update or whatever. It happens. So I'm like, okay, I update, but it doesn't actually update. It just goes through the motions. And then I'm like, okay, well, whatever. And I go back and uninstall some more, and they do it again. I'm like, okay, so I'll just ignore it. It's obviously some sort of thing. And then I was trying to install a game, and that popped up, and it kept interrupting my install because they would jump the queue and stuff. And it was, have you ever had that happen to you where it just keeps trying to update games?
I have never had anything happen. Like I've had games that I've had that happen in like onesies and twosies, but it, after the first time, it's like, oh, there's nothing here to update. Huh. Well, how about that? And it just kind of goes on.
Yeah, like
I've never had like a bunch of them happen all at once. Maybe it's because you're hopping around on different Steam games and it's trying to verify the saves or something.
I don't know. I wasn't playing them. I was just uninstalling games at the time.
Oh God!
I have 35 games installed right now, and whenever that was triggering, it was like 23 of them. I actually went through and did a file check on them all to make sure nothing got corrupted. While I was downloading another game or whatever, some weird Steam thing. Still did it. I don't know if it's gone now, but it took me forever to get the game I was trying to install installed. That's a mess of its own.
Man, yeah, it's a headache. I have similar problems with certain consoles deciding to randomly update. I'm not going to say which. I was like, let me play some Persona 5 update. What the fuck? I don't know. Did you get a PS4 update recently? Like a system update?
How recently?
Well, I turned it on this week and it came on. So anytime I haven't played for I want to say about 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So sometime in the last month there was an update or something like that, or I don't know, but it just decided to load and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What is this shit?
I don't think I've actually loaded up my PS4 since the RE2 remake was released. I've been playing on PC since then. And I think Xbox One at one point.
Just adventures.
Oh, no, you know what?
Random internet
I was
stuff.
playing Kingdom Hearts 3. That was the last week, though. So maybe when I turn mine on, I'll have an update. Or it's updating, in standby mode. I allow that.
Oh, yeah, I keep mine in sleep mode whenever I'm not using it because mainly my TV gets bogarted out to everybody but me, like 90% of the time. So, yeah. The cool thing I've noticed is my TV is actually one of those next-gen TVs, so all I have to do is, like, press the PlayStation controller and it source flips over to the one I need. Then I hit, like, the Roku and it goes back to the Roku from the PlayStation. Oh, it's nice. Nice unintended feature that I discovered.
Yeah.
I had been, like, because I lost the remote for it, like, 4,000 years ago. I had been, like, getting my ass up off the couch and walking over to the TV and hitting source before I, nope, just found it out on accident.
First world problems.
First world problems right there.
I guess by now, the audience is probably wondering why Michael's so quiet.
Well, that's because we kicked him off the podcast. It's gone. No more Michael. Michael free podcast from here on out. Viewership rating just plummets. Nah, he's got a little work vacation he's taking. I bet he's kicking back right now at the Margarita on the beach, laughing at us. But should be back for next week, hopefully. We'll see. Just depends on how things go over there.
Yeah, he was supposed to be back for this one, right? Originally?
Yeah, originally he was going to be back for this podcast, but just the way things worked out.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. But we'll make do again.
That's how we do around here. This is the 100% uncorrupted podcast right here. 100% Michael free, guaranteed.
I was about to say, I don't think uncorrupted applies because you're still on here.
Oh, you see, Michael is the one who causes the corruption. See, you can't corrupt something when it's just corruption. It's just, it's pure. It's purely corrupted. Does that make sense?
Nope.
Oh, man. Welcome, everyone, to the End of Timecast. I'm Adam.
I'm Chris.
And we have a nice show for you today. It's going to be me and Chris just ranting all day long.
Oh, man,
So
I have
Chris,
some things I could rant about.
Tell me, what have you been up to, man?
So it's been 2 weeks since our last recording, and I feel like I've done so much, yet so little at the same time. It's one of those things where I've done quite a bit of stuff, but have I really? I played some more Kingdom Hearts 3.
How's that been going?
I'm trying to think of where we left off last episode. I think I played twice since our last recording. So the first set of post-game stuff I did was getting the secret reports. Those are awesome. So if anyone out there has beat Kingdom Hearts 3, and then it's like, okay, I'm done, go get the secret reports. You have to get the secret reports.
Okay, so explain what these are.
So
what is a secret report? So
in the previous games, there have been reports as well. The Ansem reports are typically the secret reports. Depending on the game, there are other reports. Basically, they are reports you unlock by doing something. In some of the games, you just get it finding them in chests. But in Kingdom Hearts 3, they actually put them behind bosses, optional side bosses.
Okay.
I say bosses, side fights. They're not. It's up to
like
you whether or not you consider them bosses. Because there is one major secret boss, but the other ones aren't really bosses. So after you kill all these bosses, you unlock all these reports, and they give some very interesting information that the game kind of leaves these holes, obviously setting up, for another one or something, and the reports fill in enough for you to go, oh, I think I know what they're talking about. And based on what they could be talking about, it sounds really cool. Again, this also depends on if you know enough about the plot of the whole Kingdom Hearts stuff, including the side stuff. I would have to go back and watch it to determine if the recap they do, the optional video you can watch for Kingdom Hearts 3 to get you caught up on the series. I don't know if it gives you enough information for the secret reports to fully make sense, but if not, there's only a little bit you're missing out on to understand it. So you're probably like 5 minutes worth of a YouTube video from understanding it if you're missing anything from the recap.
That's cool. So you've been going back and getting how many of these things are there?
I'd have to load up the game. It's been a couple of weeks now. I think it's 13 is typically the number in the games, so it's probably 13.
So you've been going back and trying to collect all these things. Is there like one per level, or are they just randomly scattered out?
It's per the side bosses or side fights. Okay. But they're only available, all but one are only available after you beat the game. So you can't get them as you're playing through. You have to go back and get them, which it was easy.
Well, I mean, you said it was kind of easy. Did that ever change? I remember you saying it was kind of easy to go through the fights to begin with.
Right.
And I imagine the New Game Plus or whatever epilogue kind of deal they have is just going to be that much easier.
Yeah, I mean,
if they let you keep anything.
It's not really New Game Plus or epilogue or anything. It's just you continue up to the point where, or from the point before the final, point of no return, and it unlocks a few extra things. But it's not really like an epilogue. The game isn't technically beat while you're still playing it. You could still go fight the final boss again. So it's not a true epilogue type thing.
Okay.
But I did that, and then I just kind of set it down to play some other stuff. But then I went back, just kind of chilling, and I did the Gummy Ship stuff because that's something, I didn't even stream most of it, I don't think. I think I recorded part of it just because I got to some cool boss fights. But it was just something for me to do without really worrying about it too much. It's an easy thing to do. So I've got 100% Gummy stuff done as far as the Gummy objectives they give you. Or these little optional Gummy missions. So I've killed all the bosses, unlocked all the special gummy ships, which are really overpowered in some cases. They're the final gummy boss when I went through the first time took me like, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes to beat. And then at beating it unlocked another one of these OP ships. Went back and I beat it in like 2 minutes.
Oh man.
So
they are massively upgraded once you get towards the end.
Yeah, the thing about these special ones is they ignore the cost limitations. These are just cool ships that, the devs designed, put in the game, and you can use them. Some of them aren't that great. Some of them are just purely cosmetic for fun. But then as you get later into unlocking them, you start unlocking ones that are more and more powerful to where you can't build something that compares.
That makes sense. It did make sense that you'd have something that devs tossed in there to just be like, here, have fun with this.
Yeah. So I think that really all that's left for me on Kingdom Hearts 3 is just kind of achievement hunting. So I haven't really been worrying about it. It's one of those things I kind of burn myself out on it too fast with the main story.
You don't think this is going to be one of those games where you 100% it?
No, I probably will, but it's one of those that I'll do when I don't have anything better to do. I'll pick it up, do an achievement or something, or work towards an achievement, because a lot of them are really grindy at this point. Like you have to synthesize one of everything that you can synthesize in the game, so you have to go collect ingredients and do that. Mm-hmm. There's another thing where you have to level up something in a level. That'll take grinding. There are little mini games that you have to get scores on. I got one of those done. One of them I failed at several times before moving on, and then I haven't tried. I think there's 3 total. I think the third one I haven't even seen. I haven't done once.
Mm-hmm.
I think it has you do it in the game, but I haven't done it post game. So some of them are just things I can pick up and do if I feel like. But then last week was the week of betas. The
week of betas.
Yeah. So there was a Anno 1800 closed beta.
Mm-hmm. I remember you saying you were watching that.
Did I?
Or you either said you were watching it, or you said you had gotten an invite to it or something. Maybe that was what you were talking about, is the closed beta.
Yeah, did I talk about that last episode?
Well, you mentioned it, but you hadn't played it yet.
Okay. Maybe I won it the day after then. But yeah, so I won that key while watching a stream. So I loaded that up. The Anno series is not a foreign one to me. I own Anno. I don't even know what the other ones are. There's 2 other ones, if my mouse wants to type. I want to say it's 2120 or something like that, 2200. I'll look it up in a moment. 2205 and 2070 are the ones I own. I think there's another one, an older one, like 16 or something, but this one's 1800. And these are basically years that the game is based around. So the others were more futuristic type games. They are a mix of city building with more of a Age of Empires type play style. I don't know if there's actually a genre term for them, because it's not Civilization where you have your multiple cities on a map type thing. It's more like Age of Empires where you're building up a area. The way it works, at least in the closed beta, which the only mode available was the sandbox mode. But so you were just building up the thing and didn't even have all of the tiers unlocked for your city. So you could only go to a certain point, which was still a ton of content.
It's like the bare bones basic version of it, but there was just so much to the game that even getting like the streamlined version, you still had enough to play around with. Yeah,
this is... There's a couple things to talk about with that too. This is a closed beta, but it absolutely is a beta in the old sense of this is just a early look at the game type thing. It feels and plays like a released game. there were very few bugs. I don't think I encountered really many, if any at all. I didn't encounter any worth writing down, at least, if I did. So it was real solid. It was more of a beta, for feedback type thing, which is always nice to get a complete game instead of, like Fallout and stuff. Lots of fun. I don't know how many hours I put into it, but I put probably 5 or 6 easily. And I still had more stuff I could do. I just, it was the last day of the beta when I got the key. So
So where's your fun factor at on this? Just initial thoughts.
Oh, I'm sure I'm going to sink tons of hours into this game when it's released. Only downside is it's not released until April, I believe. So, a lot of
getting closer every day.
Yeah, a lot of betas now are like 2 weeks or a month before release. Nope, this one was 3 months, just over 3 months before release, or about 2.5.
I guess they're just doing it for last second polish.
Yeah.
/ bug. Yeah, maybe they're doing like stress tests on their servers or something like that.
Well, funny you mention that because there is a multiplayer, but I didn't do it. I only did the single player because of the time, how little time I had with the game. But there is a multiplayer. You can I say co-op, but just like Age of Empires, you can work together or against each other. Same kind of mentality there. Yeah, I can't wait for it. I'm looking forward to it. I kind of want to go back and play the other games now, but based on what, people in Twitch chat and stuff were saying while I was watching it, this one is better than others. So I kind of don't want to go back now, even though I own 2 of them. I just want to wait for the good one.
I mean, you know what you like, and you like this one. So, if I was you, I might try like one of the old ones. But I mean, the one you do like is going to come out in April, so that's a surefire bet. It just depends on, I guess, how crowded your gaming schedule is between now and April.
Yeah. So
now that you've destroyed Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, I burned through that really quick. The other beta, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to look my notes.
Before we move on, after the podcast, I had a question for you, and this didn't get asked on the podcast, so I'm gonna put it to you again.
Okay.
And hopefully, you came with your notes, because I think I stumped you last time. So you played through Kingdom Hearts now.
Yes.
And you've played through Dragon Quest.
Yes.
How do they compare?
They don't really.
Oh.
They're 2 totally different games. I mean, Dragon Quest is more of a traditional RPG, where Kingdom Hearts has RPG elements, but it's not a traditional RPG. It's more, God, I hate the genre whole thing because I never know what genre to put a game in. But it's more, what's the word for it? Almost hack and slash. Because you're running around killing things on the map and whatnot, which some RPGs, other RPGs do as well, but Dragon Quest is more of a traditional combat, I don't know. They're really hard to compare. They're both RPGs, but 2 totally different RPGs. Kingdom Hearts...
Which did you like more?
Kingdom Hearts, I think I like the overall story more, but that's as a franchise. Dragon Quest 11 is a really good story, but it's not extraordinary. It
doesn't have like 3 games to build these long threads that don't pay off for 2 games or so. Yeah, you're not going to get anything where you've been waiting years to find out what happens to Jim Bob because he was locked in that dungeon in season 2.
Yeah, a lot of the things I really like about Dragon Quest are gameplay things and late story things. The overall story is cool and all, but then it's more late game and then post game that I really have enjoyed on Dragon Quest XI. Yeah, they're 2. I don't know which I would say I enjoy more overall. Probably Kingdom Hearts by a little bit, if I absolutely had to.
Let's go piece by piece. So gameplay wise.
So Kingdom Hearts 3 suffered from being too easy. That's really one of the biggest strikes against it. Dragon Quest XI isn't the hardest game. In fact, there are very few spots until the post game where they were really super challenging. And most of that was solved by, just get another level or two. I talked about before how I kept being over-leveled, then I stopped leveling and then I ended up under-leveled. Only when I was under-leveled did I really have an issue. But as long as I was around the right level, it was very well balanced. Kingdom Hearts 3, I was playing on Proud mode, which is the harder difficulty. They didn't have a critical mode, I believe is what the hardest one is called in the other versions, but it was ridiculously easy. It was, yeah. Gameplay-wise, Kingdom Hearts 3 also has a lot more to it because it has the gummy ship. It has these other side things you can do that are really their own mechanics. Levels with their own mechanics, or worlds with their own mechanics, I should say. Dragon Quest XI was basically the same thing throughout it. There are, like I mentioned, some mini games. Actually, sorry, I'm crossing things now. Dragon Quest XI didn't have a whole lot of mini game type stuff. Really, the biggest thing it has is the casino, which is nothing but grind.
That's what I was going back to. I was like, I remember the casino. You're telling us about the casino, and that's it as far as mini games go.
Yeah, I believe that's it as far as mini games.
I really didn't notice like how much I missed mini games in my RPGs. I mean, think about it. Think about Chrono Triggers. Like the entire Millennial Fair was nothing but mini games. Final Fantasy VII had the snowboarding,
the whole golden saucer,
the whole golden saucer, the bike chase scene, just various little things. They had the slap fight with Tifa. Yeah. I bet you don't remember that one.
I know what you're talking about.
Press circle to slap. So I mean, just all kinds of little. Yep, escaping the chair. All those little things. It was just like, oh, let me throw you a curveball here. Let's see how this goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess that's one of those things where I like the break in monotony, and I've been playing a lot of those 3/4 top down ISO RPGs, and they don't have a whole lot of those.
Right.
There are some that have, like Neverwinter Nights 2 has a little harvest festival thing that you go through at the beginning, but it's not. You're using combat. It's like, okay, shoot the cans off the fence. You're making an attack roll. You freaking miss.
Yeah.
Like, well, I suck at this game, or the dice sucks, one or the other. But yeah, no. So it's just one of those things that kind of just hit me all of a sudden while we were sitting here talking. I kind of miss that in RPGs.
Yeah. Yeah, I think based on the difficulty of Kingdom Hearts, it is a nice short game. It should be longer, but it's nice for what it is. Dragon Quest XI is the one where you want to sink in a lot more time. That's, more of a game for you. Kingdom Hearts 3 is a much faster paced game. Which it's funny because it doesn't feel like it when you're playing it because some of the worlds seem to drag out a little bit. But when you actually go back and look, like I mentioned, I beat it in how long? 27 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what my Dragon Quest XI was like. 52 hours to beat. And then I've spent another 10 hours so far in post game. So I put probably triple the amount of time in Dragon Quest XI as I have Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah. I would say that one wins on the gameplay perspective. How about the music? I would say this one's probably going to heavily favor Kingdom Hearts, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. All of the, music from the worlds and stuff. It has such a variety, has a nostalgia. I'd say it would win across the board.
Okay. How about the amazing graphics?
So, Dragon Quest XI has that unique style. That particular style they use for their games. I'm not a huge fan in a lot of cases. It's not that it's cartoony, but it's that particular style.
Akira Toriyama style art.
I have no idea. But Kingdom Hearts has a variety of styles, depending on which world you're on. I was talking about this before. You go to a Pixar world, it looks like Pixar. It looks like you're watching the movie. Those are the graphics in the game. The more realistic worlds, they look pretty good. There are some characters that look better than others, of course. But yeah, all the worlds are pretty much the style you'd expect them in, and it's really cool. So I would say Kingdom Hearts gets the edge on that.
So Kingdom Hearts got the edge on music and graphics so far. You've got Dragon Quest with the edge on gameplay. Now let's go to replay factor. Is there like a new game plus or anything in Dragon Quest?
Well,
You've already mentioned there's
the
things you
post
got.
game.
Okay.
There's the post game, and I think based on that, absolutely, it wins out on this one. Because Kingdom Hearts 3, you have your side stuff to do, like I mentioned, gummy ship bosses, and then just random achievement type stuff. But it's not really replaying it. It's just doing optional side stuff. The post game in Dragon Quest XI is much more of a much more content after you beat the game. I guess it also technically wouldn't be, well, without spoiling anything about the post game. Let's say I'm going to give this one to Dragon Quest XI for playability, based on post game content.
So is it like an epilogue type thing, or is it like a new game plus type thing, or
it's unique?
Unique. We'll go with unique, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. I don't want to spoil it because I really want anyone that is interested in Dragon Quest XI to play it, get to the post game, and experience it.
Well, I know I definitely am. Are there any other categories we haven't got? We got to have a tiebreaker in here somewhere. Let's see. We got the graphics, the sound, the gameplay, the replayability, and let's just say, which one do you think will be remembered 10 years from now? Which one of these had actually? Let's go with this. Which one of these do you think will have more of an impact on the genre? If either.
I was going to say probably neither, because Dragon Quest XI, the only thing it's going to impact is the next Dragon Quest, I think. Though, unless some others picked up on the kind of post-game that this game has and doing something different, and it's not just a new game plus, it's not just an epilogue. It's a unique experience after beating the main game. But Kingdom Hearts...
That is piquing my interest so hard right now. You have no idea.
It does something that I haven't seen done in a game before, I think.
Like my hand keeps like getting... my hand's on the mouse, and the mouse keeps getting closer and closer to Steam. Like, maybe I should buy this game right now.
Yeah.
Play it after this podcast is over with.
Well, that's like I was telling Michael, get to the point where you unlock the, second character, I think I said, or third character, and then it really starts picking up. And the further in the game you get, the better it gets. So it's one of those. It's unfortunate it starts out so slow, but that's the RPG way. You can't start off a badass. You have to work your way there.
Yep. Even as far as RPG characters go, I can't think of too many that got stronger than Fei Fong Wong in Xenogears. And he starts off beating up little like hobs in the forest and stuff like that, doing like 3 damage per hit.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
start small, end big. Feels better.
The funny thing, you were like, which one would be most remembered in 10 years? I'd be like, well, that's probably when Kingdom Hearts 4 will be out, so probably then Kingdom Hearts 3 would have the advantage.
Okay. So that doesn't work for a tiebreaker. How about this? Which one of the characters would win in a fight? Let's go there.
Oh, man.
We got Sora with the Keyblade versus Protagonist 12.
Yeah.
Dragon Quest.
I mean, he is just called the hero. He doesn't have a stock name. Oh, man. Let's say at the beginning, I would give it to Sora with their powers unlocked, like, say, end game. I would probably give it to Dragon Quest XI hero.
Okay. All right. So there you go. Dragon Quest XI is a better game. Based on our completely and utterly scientific method of determining which is best. So anything else in your week besides Kingdom Hearts?
Yep.
And the beta?
Yeah, and Anno. There was another beta, but I want to say that Anthem was talked about the previous week. I'm trying to think.
I want to say Anthem just released.
Well, the beta, or demo they called it.
The beta. quotation marks, but the game releases in like a week, so what could they possibly get out of this beta?
Okay, I realize now my notes. God, what episode is this? My notes are confusing me.
Episode 69. It's always episode 69.
Okay, this is episode 80. No wonder. So I had a page of notes for last week, and then I started a new page of notes for this week. So I'm looking at my notes, and I'm like, why am I so confused? Because I have half my stuff on one page and half of it on the other.
Yep. And you got the D&D notes mixed in there, and they're just
no, that's
all
a
over
different
the
notebook. Okay, that helps. I have that I played some more Dragon Quest XI, but I don't know what I did anymore. I think I was just leveling up, I think is all I did.
I remember you doing something in the casino.
Yeah, screw the casino.
You were like, yeah, I'm trying to do this specific thing in the casino, and I can't get it to work because blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I think I already talked about it. I don't know why I wrote it down in my notes. I don't know if I played it very much. I think I might have just leveled up some more, and that's it. I probably shouldn't have even written it down.
There you go.
So, the Anthem demo, I don't know. I did talk about that because I talked about how terrible it was to get in. I never got in and played it.
Really?
So the first day almost nobody could get in. And then later on, some people could get in and it got better, as the weekend progressed, but I lost interest. After watching some people play it and kind of look at the gameplay, I don't know how interested I am in it.
Well, supposedly, if you like Destiny, and I know you do,
well,
you're supposed to like this. See,
that's not necessarily true. There are a few games in this particular, we'll call it a genre of its own. The looter shooters is, a genre, but talking about this subset of games, you have Destiny, you have Warframe, which are kind of the two big looter shooter type games right now. And then Anthem comes along, and it's kind of somewhere in the middle. The combat isn't as fast paced as Warframe is, but it's not the same as Destiny. So it's not if you like this, you'll like this type thing. And then you have The Division. That was the other beta I didn't write down. That's the one I actually was going to talk about. Division 2 beta. They called it a private beta. I'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, Anthem, the big concern with Anthem is the end game and how much stuff there is to do in the game. Because they have the game looks good as far as the environment goes. They put a lot of work into the environment itself. But I think when I was watching, it seemed kind of empty. So you have this big area, but there's only a little bit of stuff to do in it. And I don't know if that's just because of the beta. I haven't actually watched it since the game was released. I'll go ahead and throw that out there. These are beta-only thoughts.
Okay.
I don't know. Flying around is cool and all, but aside from the horror stories about the controls, how bad they are, I don't know. It doesn't seem that cool. Flying is cool in general, but Anthem flying doesn't seem all that great because it limits your combat functionality. Your options you have for combat while you're flying. Some classes flying is, or what do they call them? Some javelins. Flying is more integrated with their classes, but others you're going to be on the ground shooting or tanking or something anyway. So the flying doesn't help you a ton unless you're flying into or out of combat, it seems. Again, I haven't actually played it myself. These are just outside observations. I don't know. I think there's so many other games right now coming out that it didn't draw my attention enough to go, okay, I'm going to go play that now. Maybe
I've been hearing a lot about the microtransactions that are supposedly jammed in there. What was your take on all that?
I know nothing about them. So
you know nothing about them.
Unfortunately.
So, yeah, apparently they had, I don't know if it was, because if there's a shop in a game, I don't touch it.
Yeah.
And unless it's a free-to-play game and I find myself playing a whole lot of it and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to get back to the developer.
Right. Absolutely.
It'll be something, like I played Hearthstone forever. Mm-hmm. And then I realized, I play a lot of Hearthstone. Maybe I should buy some packs or something. Support Blizzard for making this game that I play a lot. I played a lot of War Thunder. And, after nearly 500 hours of playing it, I said, you know what? There's they deserve at least $60 from me.
Right.
You know, at least, because I've gotten my money's worth out of it. I've gotten more out of this game than I've gotten out of a lot of games I have paid for. So at that point is the only point where I'll touch an in-game store at all. So, but there are some people that get freaking offended by the idea of these little microtransactions.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a good thing. You know, I don't see the, when you're looking at something like a Battlefield, you know, and you're, okay, well, it's a random roll to see if you get this particular, keychain to go on your magazine or something. You know, it's like, I really want the one with the smiley face on it. And you keep rolling it, and 2 weeks later, you still don't have it. You know, okay, you pay $1.50 and you get the damn thing.
And I think in general, most people are okay with cosmetic-only stores. It's really only an issue when it becomes pay to win, which is kind of, you know, the balancing act a lot of these games have to do. You know, Magic MTG Arena is a really good example of, you know, pay to speed up type thing, which is okay.
And I think it's a very important, because I was going to mention this the moment you said pay to win. Paying to speed up is not paying to win.
Right.
In my mind. It's, anything that makes something happen faster is a luxury item. If I can grind and get the same result as somebody else, it's not the same to me.
I think we do need to draw a line though, that there is a such thing as pay to speed up so fast that it becomes pay to win. Sure, I could earn it, but it's going to take me 500 hours.
If it takes you 500 hours to do something I can do in 5 seconds by clicking the pay button, then yeah. If it takes me a day worth of grinding to, I don't know, that really just depends on how much you're willing to throw down when you do pay.
Yeah.
Because I can buy 100 packs in Hearthstone day one. I roll out, the expansion just dropped. Bam, I've got 100 packs. Now, inside of those packs, I don't know what's going to be there.
Right.
I know I'm guaranteed a legendary every so many packs. But do I know that I'm going to have all the things I need? No. I know I'm going to have a lot of dust from duplicates, and I'm going to, use those to craft whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see that as game breaking, because you earn packs so often. You earn about a pack a day, if not sometimes more. And usually at the beginning of an expansion, they throw packs at you, so you end up with, 5 free packs on launch day.
I think the bigger pay-to-win issues right now with current games, say the last year, is really more on the mobile side, trying to get that mobile money. Mm-hmm. Those are really bad. I've talked about Avalon, Kings of Avalon, Knights of Avalon, whatever it was I played. It was horrendously pay-to-win in the sense that, you could buy resources to level up faster. And it was a never-ending chase for free-to-play players. And there are a couple other games. I mean, that's kind of the trend amongst mobile games is you pay, you're going to be top of the leaderboards, top of the food chain. And in a game like Avalon with PvP, you just bully everybody below you that doesn't pay.
Yeah.
And it's a miserable time. I spent way too much time in that game just out of spite trying to catch up and get revenge and be able to defend against pay-to-win players.
Yeah, and that brings me to another thing that, I think about kind of often is, my kids are at the age where they're starting to get phones. Mm-hmm. And on these phones, they want to play games. And, so I get them. Usually what they want fluctuates from week to week, so they'll, uninstall and reinstall different games based on what their friends are playing or whatever. Oh man, I'm just always worried that these microtransactions are going to get right there and become like, okay, well, I want this hammer in Roblox, so I'm going to pay $5.99 for it, and it's 2 clicks away from using your daddy's credit card. That's the kind of stuff that, it's like, okay, this is the kind of stuff I need to watch out for.
Yeah.
And I always make sure that I delete all of my information off my kids' phones, obviously. But still, the fact that it could be so close, I think about how easy it is in Hearthstone. Hearthstone, you're 3 clicks away from buying $60 worth of stuff. It's like click, 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 there. So I imagine my kids doing it and just, you wake up in a cold sweat at night like, did I take my credit card information off there? Did I make sure to delete all that when I got done buying that thing for her?
Real quick, we are on episode 81. My notes were correct.
Good job.
There's a reason.
Everybody give him a hand.
There's a reason Dragon Quest XI wasn't on my list for this week, because that wasn't this week. Okay, I'm not crazy. My lists were just so similar, but then I looked at the game and I saw Dragon Clip. I was like, okay, I know I talked about that one last time.
There you go.
Or a spreadsheet just needs to be updated. But yeah, so one of the things, talking about paying for stuff, the DS, 2DS and 3DS, one thing I really like about that is you can put a pin for the payment stuff. So on my daughter's DS, I set my payment stuff up in there, but then I locked it behind the parental controls. So she can play demos, as long as they're in the age range I allow her to play all she wants. But when it comes to buying something, only I can do that, with the pen.
That makes sense. That's a whole lot of good right there. See, I'm going through the Play Store and all this stuff right here, and I've got it set up to where, to pay, it always confirms with me on my, on my stuff. Mm-hmm. But, and going through my monthly statement to see what they've downloaded and all that kind of, tell you what, I didn't think I'd need to do that. I found out real quick. Like, their friends get on there and they mention this, and boom, that shit's downloaded.
Oh, yeah.
It don't take them no time. So. Yeah,
that's something that I'm surprised I haven't been asked about it, because my daughter doesn't have a phone. But a lot of her friends at school do. So.
Keep them that way for as long as you can.
Yeah, my thought on that is, because I was asked this not too long ago, my thought is when they start driving. That's when they need a phone. Before then, I don't think so.
See, my kids are in a unique situation where they get home before I do. Mm-hmm. So if it so happens that the network of adults in my life that are supposed to meet them at the house, when they get off the bus, are not there, then either of my daughters can, whip their phone out and go, "Daddy, I'm at the house, but no one's here." And I can go, "Yep, I'm going home. I'm going home right now to rectify that."
Yeah.
And then I'm going to put my foot in some adult's ass behind the scenes. But yeah, just in case, because I don't know, maybe I'm just paranoid, but that's one of those things that lingers in my mind. Like, what happens if they get off the bus and they're just standing, it's like 20 below, and they're just standing outside waiting on somebody to show up.
I'm not saying there aren't good reasons to do it otherwise, but that's just kind of my mentality,
Oh, yeah.
I'm in a fortunate situation where I don't have to worry about any of that. But, last year, last school year, my daughter was homeschooled. So, and this is actually her first year being in a public school.
How is that adjustment?
It's not too bad. It's a lot easier than we were expecting.
That's good. Yeah. That's real good. I imagine that it would be actually harder to adjust to the reverse, being a public school kid and then starting to get homeschooled, because suddenly now you have to take home seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's weird too, because I think being homeschooled for a year kind of helped with transition. Because I was very aware of, what she'd kind of be expected to know. So in private school, they were on a accelerated curriculum, so they basically taught the grade ahead. So when she was homeschooled, part of it was a review, and then part of it was, she was supposed to learn for this year. So she, in theory, should have had a little bit of head start. Not that it helped, but that's a theory behind it. But really the biggest transition part is that it's so much bigger. The private school she was in was a single building, old school type school. You have the single building, almost like the cartoon drawings you see where it's got the, red brick, one like room on the picture. It's not one room at the private school, but it wasn't that many. It was kind of, So going from that where the entire student population was, 100, 150 to this school where it's probably like 1,000. The building, walking from end to end, it takes you more than 30 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the big things when I was going to high school. Is like the first month was just figuring out where shit was. And somebody'd be like, "Hey, you know how to get to the band room from here?" And I'm like, "Fuck no." Hey, where's the gym? I go down the got to find the main hall, and I have no idea how to get back to it from here. So you're fucked.
Yeah, I didn't have any of those issues. Her school that she's at now is much bigger than any I ever went to either.
That's cool.
But yeah, so that rabbit hole we got down into.
That's cool. The rabbit holes are fun.
Yeah. Jumping back to my week, talking about Magic Arena. So I previously had complained about how I couldn't play the new expansion because they only had, the gems they had to pay for to play it. They finally released started the ranked season over. Like I thought when they did the rank reset, they unlocked the new expansion for gold. So I have now played 4 sets of ranked draft.
Nice.
These are not best of 3s, these are best of 1s formats. Best of 3 is gems only, which is what was available before. Again, I'm not playing with gems, so Done with Gold is what I do. I'm also not sure I would do very well at best of 3. I'm not smart enough at the game for that. So I talked about this a little bit before. I do not do drafts for the rewards for winning. I do them for the cards I get while drafting. I do it to build my collection so then I can hopefully build a deck that won't lose me every game. So that being said, I tracked my win-loss record. So keeping in mind that in these drafts, you lose 3 games, your draft is over, and you get whatever reward you get. A pack or 2, depending on how high you got, plus some gems. So my first game, I tried to force my draft, which you never want to do. You never want to force certain deck type in a draft because it's entirely dependent upon what cards you get, so you want to build around that. But I knew going in, I wanted a Rakdos deck, which is red-black. And so I did it. I picked a bunch of really good Rakdos cards. Wasn't enough, but I got a fair amount. It was a decent deck. Decent enough for me to go 1-3, which was about what I expected for my first draft in a new expansion. My next one, I want to say, was a blue deck. I don't know if I was even comboed. I think I just splashed a little bit with it. It might have been blue-black. I don't even remember. I think I just loaded up on counter spells and went with that. But that one got me 2-3, which is an improvement. I won one more game, which got me like 10, 25 more gems. The third game, I went 3-3, which nice. I think 3 wins is my current. Is it tied with my previous record for most wins in a draft?
I love it because they do the arena in Hearthstone. It's just kind of the same. They give you 3 cards and they're like, pick one of these 3. And then they give you 3 more cards and they're like, pick one of these 3. And you do that until you've got a full deck. Whenever I try to build for something, I always end up getting 90% of what I need. And like the one critical card that is necessary to complete it, I don't get.
Yeah.
So I'll end up like, oh man, this deck would be awesome if I could just pick up, blah, blah, blah card. And yeah, no, it doesn't come up.
Yep. That's how it goes. And that's why, like I said, you can't force a deck type in Magic. You're picking basically from 15 cards per pack or something like that. I don't even remember. But you get a ton of draws. So you draw a ton of cards, have a ton of options, but you'll see 2 cards you really want on one draw, and you pick one and the other one may never show up again. The AI may get it because it's a hidden draft thing with AI filling in the other roles. Yeah, so that was it for that day. I went out on a high note, 3-3. I did another one.
You gave as much as you took.
Yeah.
At the very least.
Yeah. I played another draft earlier this week, or actually a couple days ago, I think, just because I wanted to play some Magic and there wasn't any other modes I really cared about playing at the moment. I don't even remember what I drafted. It was more of that one evolved because I think I started out, it was like, okay, I'm white, green. No, I'm green, blue, maybe splash some black. No, get rid of the black. There's not any more cards I want. That's too much mana to worry about. And then at the end, I was like, I need just get rid of all the white cards. So I'm just a green-black deck, which I don't know what the name is for that one offhand. I was like, okay, this isn't great, but I got some ramp, which is, building up mana at a pretty fast pace, and I think this will be okay. I ended up going 2-3 on that one. So I was pretty happy with that. I was obviously hoping to go for 4-3, to keep the constant increase going, but I kind of went downhill. But to be fair, there was like a week in between, so I was out of practice, I had to de-rust.
There you go.
It's one of those things where I look at drafting as almost like rare drafts and collection drafting. I'd be like, yeah, this card would make this deck more playable, but this one will make the other deck I want to play outside of drafting more playable. I'm going to get that one. So
that's how you do it. I mean, I look at it whenever I start going and I realize that like everything I was trying to do halfway through the deck is just fucked. That's when I go, okay, which one of these cards do I think is just the most powerful?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll prioritize class cards, which I guess they don't have in Magic, but I'll prioritize, cards that I know are going to be above their mana value.
Yeah. Or
slightly ahead of their curve. And, just hope for the best. I start looking at, okay, well, how many 1 mana cards do I have? How many 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? And I start, okay, well, let me balance this out. I need to pick a couple lower cards. Oh, I ain't passing that shit. Pick that up. Okay, yep.
Yeah, I don't think this is in draft, but I had a game where I was using one of my red decks, I think, if it wasn't in draft. But I ended up winning the game with 2 mana. I got mana screwed. But I had so many 1 and 2 drops in the deck that I just kept throwing out the low mana cards, and it won me the game. It was so hilarious. I felt so bad for the other person. But it was such a good feeling to win with 2 mana.
Let's see. Have there been any like significant nerfs or buffs here recently in Magic?
There is talk about a couple cards that may be nerfed or banned rather from Arena or certain modes in Arena at least.
They'll ban the card outright.
They don't do it often.
Nerf it?
They don't do it often.
Okay.
But this Nexus of Fate is one I've talked about before, where the other person gets another turn, but it is instant speed. And with the latest expansion, you can infinitely do it. You can infinitely do it before, but there are cards that make it even easier to go infinite now. And it's kind of broken certain things. Certain modes are very frustrating to play. Because sure, there are ways to counter it. I mean, just having a counter spell and it's countered. But aside from being instant speed, it also goes back into your library after you play it. So there's basically decks that self-mill so that they run out of cards except for Nexus of Fate. So whatever their win condition is, they can play it on their infinite turn loop, or they can just smash you in the face with one creature they have out, and you can't do anything because your mana is all tapped from the previous 5 turns they've taken. It's not a good experience. Yes, there are counters. Yes, it can be played around. It's not that bad in best of 3. It's not like it's taking over the tournament scene, but
nobody likes to feel powerless.
Yeah,
nobody likes to lose and just watch like some cheese get put on them.
Yeah,
and they're like, okay, I realize I can't escape this. Just go ahead and kill me. That's not a situation you want your players to be in.
Yeah, so it's a very poor experience on Arena, and I don't know what the latest is, but I'm just paying attention, to people that stream Magic that know a lot more about it than I do. There does seem to be talk about banning it at least in Arena in certain modes. Best of 1 maybe, or the casual mode, or I wouldn't say the very casual one, but probably best of 1s, not allowing it. I don't know. I would have no issues whatsoever if they banned it completely from the planet. I hate the card, but in all fairness, like I said, there are counters. I just don't play any of them. So if I run up against one of those decks, I just try to hit him in the face until they can trigger it. Because it's not an instant win. They have to have a setup for it. So typically when you have a Nexus of Fate deck you're playing against, you have probably, let's say, 4 or 5 turns to kill your opponent before they are going to be able to do this.
Is it really obvious they're setting up for it?
Sometimes. Sometimes it's really obvious. Other times it's not. It all depends on what kind of deck they're running it in, and also how much experience you have. Like me, I sometimes will notice, but more times than not, I'm like, oh, this is okay. Now I understand what they've been playing towards. Now they're setting me up for, okay, yep, time to leave this game. Or make them play through 20 minutes until they finally kill me, through the loops.
Mm-hmm.
Make them earn their win. It all depends what kind of mood I'm in. But like watching Day 9 play, within the first couple of turns, he's like, oh, this is probably a Nexus of Fate deck. Because there are certain combinations that are best for it. So if you see certain patterns, the first couple turns, you can typically guess what kind of deck it is. I don't have that kind of skill, nor do I play meta decks. I'll see someone use something against me, and I'll throw it into a deck and build on top of that. Like my main, I talked about before, my main Ajani deck. So Ajani is one of the decks they give you just straight up for, playing the game. But I've modified mine way beyond the normal one. Because I got killed by a deck that used, God, I just went blank on the name. But basically, it's anytime anytime a token creature would be created, it creates a 4/4 flyer instead, which is really good. And there are cards, create 3 tokens. So I mixed that with my Ajani deck. So now I have basically a deck that's not great at either one, but certain combinations, if I get certain draws, I'm like winning the game turn 5.
That's always been one of my favorite things to do, is just kind of theory craft based on card interactions. Like I had a Paladin set up, and I don't think this was in any sort of meta, but Paladin had this legendary weapon that it had a death rattle on it, which is a thing that triggers when the weapon is destroyed.
Right.
And it would buff the shit out of a card and give that card the death rattle, re-equip the legendary weapon. Yeah. So, you play the hammer or whatever, you use it to beat someone in the face, or you destroy it somehow, and it buffs a card. You throw that card out, that card gets killed, you get a hammer back. Well, I was like, okay, I'm going to put it on cards that duplicate themselves. So I'd have like 6 or 7 little minions come out, and they'd all have the same buff on them and all have the same death rattle. So as soon as they broke, it equipped a hammer, and multiple of them dying per turn, so they're buffing multiple things per turn. Oh, it's great.
Yeah, there's a magic.
It was a hard setup,
and
it wasn't
similar like that.
Yeah, it doesn't work. It's it's slow to roll out, and it wouldn't work in ladder very well. But I've thoroughly amused myself every time I pulled it off.
Yeah.
And you could see the frustration building in the enemies. Like, your opponent is just like, motherfucker, I see what you're doing, you bastard.
Yeah, and
I had cards that come out, and they would just immediately become another one of something I already had on the board, and I'd make it become one of those. Yeah, stuff like that.
Oh, hey, there's actually a news article. I opened up the Magic client to, look at that card. Divine Visitation is the one that changes the tokens. And in the client, there's, their little scrolling ticker that tells you a few things about the latest modes and stuff. And right on my screen as I look, it says Arena Standard Ban List. Learn more about what's happening with Nexus of Fate. So as of 2 days ago, Nexus of Fate is banned in Arena Standard. So I believe that is the best of 1. Yeah. Arena Standard is best of 1, and Traditional and Special is best of 3 or other stuff. So, yeah, now it's banned on Arena. Or it's restricted. It's not banned. It's just certain format. And they go into this long, drawn-out thing about how they made the decision. They have these paragraphs talking about it, which is cool. I like that they did it.
I like when people thoroughly explain what they do.
Yeah.
I don't like to see stuff come out and then just be like, here's your shit. I like to hear, this is why this got changed.
Yeah. Something interesting I just saw as I'm scrolling through this just to see what their little headers were. There's one about collections, and anyone that had the card got wild cards, the same number of wild cards. So I'm looking now, because I think I have it from a thing. No, I don't have it, unless they took it out. But I don't think no, I didn't have it. Okay, never mind. I was going to say, I thought I had more wild cards than normal for Mythic Rare, but that's cool that they gave people the thing. So
Yeah, whenever Hearthstone decides to just completely and utterly wreck a card, especially like a legendary, they'll give you your mana back.
Yeah.
They give you the dust it's worth back. Like, yeah, go pick another card of the same value because this bitch is gone.
Yep. But good on them. Good on them. The only other thing really about Arena is I love their other modes. Last weekend was Pauper, which means you can only use common cards. This weekend are Singleton decks, which means you can only have one copy of a card in your deck. So a lot of decks, run 4 of each of their cards pretty much. A couple of them might have 2 depending on what kind of utility they have, but it's typically like, okay, 4 of these, 4 of these, 4 of these, 4 of these. Singleton, you can only have one copy of a card. So lots of fun. And it's free this weekend. You don't even have to pay the gold to enter. But you don't win gold. You just win, alternate art cards. But it's still fun to just go in with the deck and play.
Now, when you say alternate cards, do you mean...
Alternate art. Yeah.
Alternate art. Okay. That's not bad.
Yeah, the card is... the common card is Duress, which is a discard card thing. And then there's for 5 wins is the alternate of Galta, which is a badass dinosaur.
Nice.
I've won 1 Galta now. I've won like 8 of the other ones because I keep losing. I actually went online and downloaded a deck list for this mode that someone else used. It's similar to when I had built myself, but it was much better. It was actually a full, thought out thing. I just went in and picked cards that I thought would play okay.
Yeah, you just did what you thought would be best. You didn't check with the... Yeah, that goes back to my WoW rating days where it was like, okay, how far am I off from the meta? Let's see, what does frickin' Icy Vein say? Oh, they say I need more of this. Well, fuck them. I'm doing this.
Yeah. The good thing about it was I was only missing like 3 cards. So I used some wild cards for it and had a playable deck, and it got me 1 win so far. 5 game wins.
Yeah, that was one of the things is back when... You just sidetrack everything with the story here, but back when Warlords of Draenor was coming out, they had a specific setup. They were trying to get all the Gladiator style warriors to go. Gladiator was like a deuce spec for warrior, and I was like, you know what? I've played a lot of WoW. I think I could figure this out on my own, and it's always nice. It's always nice to feel vindicated with exactly what I had come up with on my own, and then looking and finding out that it's 95% of what they recommended everybody else do.
Yeah, that reminds me of when I played Rift before they killed my build. There was... I've talked about this before on the podcast, but I had built up I want to say it was a 2-handed sword tank build, the Justicar. And it was viable. It was, it obviously lacked in defense somewhat, but it was enough to tank, but it also had more damage output than a typical tank. So it was a good hybrid, and it was totally viable. And then they completely nerfed and changed the tree. So that's when I quit the game.
There you go.
Yep. All right. So I was talking about how it was the week of betas. The other one was Division 2, which I played Division 1 a little bit. I couldn't get into it. This is before they did all the updates. I went back, played it some more after it got to 1.8 or whatever the big, game-changing update was. It felt the same, so I didn't really play it very much either. Just went back to Destiny, essentially. So Division 2 private beta, which I guess is essentially just a closed beta, just a different word for it for some reason.
Private beta makes me think it's like, this is a beta. You're like one of the friends of the developers or something.
Yeah. What was interesting is this is another one of those betas, and I think Ubisoft does this a lot, where you can invite friends to it. So, like, I could have invited 2 people to play, and I actually posted it on Facebook, and I think nobody was interested.
Damn.
But yeah, I had 2 keys for it I could have given out. But, so, I played it for a little bit. I don't know how long I actually played. I think I'd have to pull up whatever that client is for Ubisoft.
The Uplay thing?
Yeah, it's actually not showing up. So I guess it's not on the list of game stuff right now. Anyway, yeah, this one I actually got an email invite for. So that was cool. Because I'm signed up to like play pretty much, or at least try to play every Ubisoft beta. Because I was in the Trials Rising beta and stuff like that. So it's fun getting, a peek into some of these things ahead of time. But yeah, Division 2, for me, it feels pretty much like Division 1. There are obvious improvements, quality of life changes and stuff, but gameplay-wise, it felt the same. I don't...
So no major, differences, or...
Well, for my little bit of experience, not really. But again,
I didn't play much of the Division. I was really on board with it, and I'll tell you what turned me off was, I'm used to playing a lot of first and third person shooters. Like I played a lot of Ghost Recon. I played a lot of Rainbow Six Vegas and stuff like that. But when I noticed that everything was going off like a hit point system, just instantly took me off the game. I was like, now everybody's gonna be kind of bullet spongy and just not sure if I want to go with this. And then in the very first little iteration of it, all the negativity came out, and I was like, oh, yep, nope, good, I dodged a bullet on that one.
Yeah.
So sorry to interrupt.
All good. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people say it was really bad at the start, but like I said, at 1.8 or whatever it was, that's when a lot of people went back to the game and then played it, hundreds of hours more, like I did for Destiny 2, or Destiny rather back then. I'm on the fence whether or not I'm going to buy and play Division 2.
So
I don't actually know when it releases. March 15th is when it releases, so I've got a month.
You have enough time in your day to play, both Destiny and that.
I'm not really playing Destiny though. That's the thing.
What?
I haven't been playing it for a while.
It just lost you? Or did you just get busy playing other things?
The catch-up got too bad. Because for me to get caught up, I would have to sink probably 60 hours worth of catch-up time. Because they took out certain things that would level you up faster. They've added some in, so it's better now. But it would still take 60 hours to catch up. And that's maybe getting me where I need to be. And I don't want to do that sync. I have other games I could play. So kind of the MMO mentality, yeah, I could play it and get caught up on all these other things. Or I could play, 30 other games.
Damn.
So I don't know. I want more of it, more Destiny. And I enjoy every time I load it up and play some more. I absolutely love playing Destiny. I love the game as a whole. It's just... I'm so behind at this point because I got behind playing other games that it's harder to have fun with it now because I'm so behind. I
know that feeling. I'm kind of the same way with WoW right now. It's like every time I think about it, I'm like, but I'd have to go through a level. I'd have to level my main just to be able to get to the in-game content, and then I'm behind. And yeah, that's a good reason not to go back.
Yeah,
let me just look away from it. But then I think, but if another expansion comes out, I'll be even further behind. Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah.
So.
Like I said, I don't know if I'll play it. I have a month to decide. We'll see what I come up with by then. I probably won't, but we'll see.
We'll check back in. We'll find out.
Yep. So it's no secret to you guys in our audience that I like simulation games. That's one of the genres I play quite a bit. So last week, a game came across my, splash screen on Steam, and it calls itself a cyberpunk management sim. I'm like,
right.
Okay, this is interesting. And it's only $10. So why not, right? Excuse me. That's kind of the trend with these sim games. There'll be like $10 or $15. I'll be like, okay, that's worth a shot. It looks okay.
That's like a coffee, Might as well give it a shot.
So it's an interesting game. I don't think it's a fun game. but it is a interesting game. The premise is, and I don't think it should be called cyberpunk at all. I get kind of why they say that, but it's kind of misleading.
Okay.
Basically, what you're doing in this is it's a futuristic setting where the world is different as far as governments go. Like the United States is run by corporations, so maybe not so much different. But
it's like a corporate dystopia kind of thing.
Yeah. And, other countries like Africa is divided into North and South Africa, and they're one country each. They're not, individual countries make up that anymore, etc. These combined regions into mega corporations or mega countries, etc. And the premise is you are running a business. You've been recruited by this, council of shadowy figures that you never see their face because, of course, that's what they do. They're secret and shadowy.
As secret shadowy figures tend to be.
Yep. And the premise is they're putting you in charge of the company they're your board of directors. They're your council. They put you in charge of this, startup company, and your idea is to build up to join their ranks and support them via these genetic experiments to basically where you and the council will live forever. The name of this game is called Spinortality. Don't know quite why the name like that, but basically immortality is the big part of it. It actually might be Spinmortality. Now I look at it. It looks like it's two N's, but it actually is two N's. But in the logo, it looks like an M. So it's Spinortality, but basically it focuses on immortality, and you have these projects where you can research genetics, move yourself into another body. So because you actually have an age, and you will die at a certain year of the game if you don't get this research to this point. But you have plenty of time, it seems. The reason I say this isn't fun is it feels unbalanced and too many features are wasted.
How so?
So you have different things you can research, and you have a workforce you manage, and you have to, kind of keep those balanced, because at a certain point you can unlock AIs. But if you have too many AIs, the human workforce doesn't feel appreciated, so you have to, have this balance of ratios and whatnot. And your workers are what you use to research, which is kind of odd because you don't use your workers for work. You just use them to research stuff that you then do.
Are you doing the research on them?
No.
Huh.
They're just working on the research is all they do.
So you can't have just like a completely automated system where you have nothing but AIs where
you could
just get rid of
you
all
absolutely
the
could. But AIs and humans are better at different things. So AIs are really good at research. I don't know what humans are really good at, but they're good at something. But yeah, so they're and there are different aspects of research. So, AI is better at one aspect and humans are better at the other. But anyways, you have this workforce and you have to pay them. So that takes out of your income. I think you even pay AIs, but it's probably maintenance cost equivalent.
Okay.
But so you have your workforce and stuff, but you research these things and then you decide where you're going to launch what product. So kind of to start with, you start with social media. So basically you create your own social media platform and you push it out to certain countries, which just pushing it out is the base idea. And then you have, your focus area for that. So you'll push it out to this country and you'll focus on how secure it is and how private it is for the country, is their political alignment and the beliefs of, the members of that country is, they care about the privacy and they want security. So you kind of focus that your advertisement essentially towards their desires, their beliefs. In a different country, you advertise it differently. And based on how good your advertisement aligns with their beliefs, you get more money. Go figure, right? So you're trying to stay in the green and make money so that you can spend it researching other things and launching other campaigns, other products, and then, just keep building up. I played for roughly an hour and a half. I got to where I had no issue with money very quickly. There's another little system where you basically can call in favors, and you have to use those favors to unlock certain stuff, and things will cost favors to unlock, and it's very odd. But like I said, I don't think it's balanced, because the social media is essentially the foundation of everything I did. If I launched something else, it's just because I was bored and wanted to do something else. I was like, I don't have anything going on in this country other than my social media, so why not? I've researched like 7 other things at this point. Social media is making me the most money because I have everything for it unlocked, so I don't really have a reason to bother with another one unless the board of directors asks me to do it. Because they'll give you these little objectives, and their approval for you unlocks bonus stuff and makes a difference in the game. So you want to keep the board of directors happy as well. So it's an interesting sim, but like I said, I don't think it's a fun one. It just seemed, yeah.
Now, is this a full game, or is it like a green light early access kind of deal?
Nope.
Or?
This launched February 1st, so it's a brand new game.
So it basically shipped with these balance issues.
Yeah.
I wonder if it came from Greenlight and like this was what the people supporting it wanted, or if it was who makes this?
It's one person, I think. James Patton. Let's see if he has anything else on Steam. Nope. So probably one person made the game, which good on him. He got my $10, so what? I guess, hey, he got me.
Him and that guy from No Man's Sky are high-fiving right now. Like, yeah, got their money.
I don't think it was early access or anything. I think it was just it was a Kickstarter game. Okay, really? It was a Kickstarter with a beta. Interesting.
You would think that the Kickstarter crowd would be beating his ass over that kind of stuff, but I don't know.
There's only 103 reviews. They're mostly positive, but there are certainly negative reviews from Kickstarter.
Looks like it hit exactly the niche that they were targeting with their Kickstarter campaign. I guess if certain people wanted a certain type of game made, they were willing to kickstart it, and it got made, and they liked it, then there's really no reason to complain. But for people on the outside like us, it's like, this is weird.
Yeah,
I've seen so many good Kickstarter ideas just go by the wayside. Yeah. It's like, oh man.
But like
I'm
I said,
a sucker for good mechanics.
Yeah, like I said, it was only $10. So for $10, I'm probably okay. Did I get my money's worth? Not really, but I'm okay with that.
How long would it take you to finish a cup of coffee from Starbucks? If you played the game at least that long, it was worth it.
Yeah, I don't drink coffee.
Well, then it was definitely not worth it. If you're not willing to buy overpriced coffee, then you can't judge games by that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate Mike wasn't here, because the next game I played, and I only played it for 10 minutes just to get it set up, basically, and to see how it ran on my PC and what to get the controls set up, is Katamari Damacy Reroll, the game he was gushing about recently. I only played for 10 minutes, just long enough to do the tutorial, get my controls set up, and I think I did the first level after the controls set up. I love the Katamari games. I hate their default controls. Yeah, it's such a miserable, but I don't know if this is just in Reroll or if the original had it, because if the original had it, I'm very annoyed. But in Reroll, they actually have alternative controls, which you only use one stick to control the stupid ball. So I was like, oh my god. But you can't select it until after you do the tutorial that teaches you the controls. So you have to get through the horrible control tutorial, and then you can change it. And
there you go.
I found that purely by accident, by trying to figure out where I could save my game and exit. Because it's...
I'm glad that you found something to make it better. You know what? I bought that game for my kids years ago. And I was like, yeah, here's something they'll enjoy. It's right next to Viva Pinata. You remember that game?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, y'all can just fuck off with this. And I found they're like, hey, Daddy, get me through this level. And I was like, oh, yeah, sure, I'll do that. Oh, my God, this game is awesome. So suddenly, like, they noticed their percentages on their file going up. And they're like, what happened? Oh, yeah, I found this dude, and I went back and did this for you. And
Yeah, that's
all the levels they hadn't beat, or all the levels they had gone through. I went back and upped all the stuff on.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how that worked out.
Sorry, I'm just uninstalling Spin Mortality now that I talked about it.
Oh yeah, get rid of that shit.
Yesterday 2 games launched. One of them being Metro Exodus. The other one, Far Cry New Dawn.
Oh. You know what? I think I caught you. I think I caught you playing Far Cry the other day. You're gonna have to tell me about that.
Yeah. So before I talk about playing Far Cry, let me talk to you about this experience I had. So talking about Steam earlier, this is the game. Far Cry is the game I was trying to install when all these other weird things started happening. Okay. Mm-hmm. I was preloading it because I was like, okay, I'm going to play it. So I pre-ordered it the day before and preloaded it. And it, it said at noon it was going to unlock. Okay, cool. So after dealing with all those other games doing their thing while I was trying to install it, okay, whatever. So it said, done, preloaded, and it was cut off so I couldn't tell what else it said. But I basically got the impression is when it unlocks, it will finish. So yesterday noon rolls around and nothing happens. So I hit the thing and it goes to the download queue and it starts a unpacking thing. Well, apparently there's this bug that can happen in Steam sometimes where a game will unpack forever and never actually make progress. So the fix is to clear your download cache and stuff. And Steam, I was like, okay, that's annoying, but sure. So I did that and it did it again. So I'm like, okay. So I cleared my cache again because it gets stuck on the download screen when this is happening. You can't do anything with it. So I cleared my download cache again, but instead of telling it to download, I uninstalled the game and then reinstalled it completely. And that seemed to fix it. So I was finally able to get, into the game. But while this was going on, because all this, I was having so many issues, I had installed Metro Exodus and I did it on the Epic Games Store. Which that's a whole mess in its own right now. The whole Exodus And while I'm on the subject, I just looked and Division 2 is not going to be on Steam. It is going to Epic Store as well.
What the hell?
Epic is giving a bigger cut. It's going to happen,
Yep.
But so I went to Metro Exodus. I was like, okay, Far Cry New Dawn is going to be too many issues. I'm going to go load up Metro. So I go to load it up and it goes on one of my screens. I went on the other one because I game on my second screen, not my primary. There are no options. Or when I loaded up, there were no options. The menu was just blank. So I'm like, okay.
What?
So I closed the game, and I had Far Cry working at this point. So I was like, okay, I'll just play Far Cry for now. And I'll come back to figuring out what's going on. My computer is just being weird at this point. So I'm like, okay, it's probably neither game's fault. It's just my computer being weird. So I'll just go play Far Cry. So Far Cry New Dawn, I haven't played any Far Cry, essentially. Mm-hmm. I own most of them. I've never played any of them.
What?
So, yeah, it's the backlog, the queue.
You got a long backlog here.
I was like, okay, New Dawn is set after Far Cry 5, but it's a side thing, and it's only $40 for the base game. So I was like, okay, it's not a full-priced game. Sure, I'll jump into this one just to get the Far Cry feel, see what it's like. And I watched a couple hours of gameplay, about an hour and a half, actually, I think, worth of gameplay of it as well. So I had a rough idea of, what it looked like and stuff. And it's, from my understanding, it's basically Far Cry 5's map, but, basically redone, reskinned, and a new story put on top of it.
I think they've done something similar in the past. I want to say it was
Primal.
Far Cry 3 that they went and did.
Primal.
Which was it? The one with the 80s overskin and like the the electronic dinosaurs and stuff like that, and the flying car. You know what I'm talking about?
Sort of. I've heard it referenced, but Primal was based on a different one, I think. So I think this is probably the third time they've done this.
Yeah, I think what they do is they come out with a main entry in the series, because this isn't Far Cry 6, is it?
Right. It is not.
This is so they come out with the main numbered entry, and then they come out with a reskin using the same stuff, just another story and stuff like that.
Yeah, someone mentioned that Far Cry is basically getting the Assassin's Creed treatment, and some other games have done this. Call of Duty, I think, went to this kind of thing where every other year is a main game, and then in between is either no game or a spin-off side thing like Far Cry New Dawn is, which is okay. I mean, and it's okay mainly because they don't fully price it, you know? They don't price it at $60. It's $40. So I've put, it's hard to gauge because for some reason I thought I had it open all night last night. I have put probably 10 hours into it. It is, and I don't know how much of this is my PC and how much of this is the game, but there has been so much freezing of the game. Like almost every time it has to load something major, like I'm going across the map and it starts loading the next area, freeze.
Well, shit.
I'll open a crate, these supply drops that happen around the map, it'll freeze. I'll go in my perk screen in the menu, unlock a perk, and then it'll freeze. And I'm like,
oh, that's not good.
What in the world is going on in this game? So I've tried a couple of things, and it has reduced it somewhat. I don't know if it's coincidence or not. Normally when I play games, I have all my other browsers and stuff open at the same time. It's a lot of stuff, but I have a beefy enough computer that really doesn't impact anything. But I actually went in and closed every browser tab I had open, other than my streaming dashboard, which that's like 60 Chrome tabs closed. So that took me a while to sort out everything and bookmark things. But I was like, maybe it's the issue, you know? So I did that. That helped a little bit.
Wait, hold up.
Yeah.
You had 60 Chrome tabs open?
Yeah.
What the fuck are you looking at, man?
So I've got, my standard email, Facebook. I have 3 different emails, open.
Email, Facebook, that's 2. All right, now 58
that's
more 4. To go.
That's actually 4. Because I have 3 different emails open. My podcast window with like 4 or 5 tabs for things to talk about, on upcoming episode or something like that. I have my streaming window, which has my streaming dashboard and other tabs for that, my analytics and a bunch of other stuff. I have a window.
I'm willing to bet that you're like the top of your screen looks like my dad's like old like the Yahoo hotbar. It's like taking up half the screen.
No, see, I divide things up
Just
into
tabs.
windows. I divide my stuff into windows. So I have a window that's my main browsing window. Like I was talking about email, Facebook, my Google Docs for, personal stuff. Then I'll have a podcast window that only has that. And then I have a Twitch window that only has those. I had a window that was only D&D stuff for sessions. And I had a window that was basically game lookups, which was the one I closed the most stuff off most frequently. I would open up, a guide. Like I still had one for Persona 1 for when I was playing it before. I finally bookmarked that and closed it. I didn't want to lose it, because I don't know what I'm going to play the next day, so I don't close things immediately. But yeah, so I 60 tabs.
Wow.
Not too bad.
60 tabs. I don't have a problem.
Yeah. I knew where everything was too. So it was a very organized tabs. And like I said, it doesn't impact anything. Chrome isn't the memory leaky thing it was before.
Yeah, and I do.
Really
I
bad.
look stuff up and then I close Chrome down.
Yeah. Nah. I can't forget the Unity window, all the Unity stuff. That one's reopened because I've been working on stuff. But yeah, easy to get up to the tabs. Anyway, so yeah, so I closed all my tabs except for my dashboard because I was streaming at the time. And let's see, what else did I do? I went and I disabled the Uplay overlay because I feel like that was causing some of it, where I was trying to connect out to the internet, and for some reason Far Cry New Dawn and its internet connection seems odd. Because like I would go to the pause menu and they have, like most Ubisoft games, they have a button you can click on and it loads the Ubisoft Club stuff inside the game or on an overlay type thing. That doesn't work. I click it and it just spins loading forever. It never connects. So there's obviously some issues there. So I disabled the overlay, and it's funny when you start up the game, it's like you actually have to click to proceed without the overlay because like we don't recommend you do this. Okay, okay, you play. So I did that. That seemed to help a little bit. And I actually went in and I excluded the installation directory from my antivirus to see if it was, catching it while I was trying to read files and causing the lags. That didn't seem to have any impact. Maybe a little bit, but didn't seem to have any. So I have no idea why it keeps doing this. I'll look at my resources. My PC resources are fine. It'll freeze and the CPU will be at like 30%,
So,
okay.
Is there anything inside the game's files? It's like a crash log or anything like that, or
I haven't got that far into looking into it. It got to the point where that was my chance to get a sip of drink or go check something on Facebook. I would just find something else to do. Check my phone.
He has one tab per friend on Facebook.
No,
just in case something updates on their page.
I have more friends than that. Barely, but more friends. But yeah, so I've had that's been a lot of the negative experience with it. Overall, the game is interesting. The story of it is interesting. It's a post-apocalyptic type environment, but it's not a Fallout, dark and bleak. This is a area that has actually regrown. Basically, I think the lore is that the radiation clouds are basically surrounding this valley. So there are ways in and out, but in general, once you go outside this area, it's a lot more radiation and it's more wastelandy. So you've got this little mini paradise, if you will, in this valley. And that's where the game takes place, which is the Far Cry 5 map, from what I understand. I don't know. It's not what I was expecting from all the hype that Far Cry gets. Mechanically, there are a couple weapons that are interesting, but they're pretty boring otherwise. And they have a tiered structure to weapons where it's only like tier 1, 2, and 3. They're not like statistically tiered, which I'm sure they are. The higher ones do a little bit more damage, but it's not based on that. And the enemies are tiered 1, 2, and 3 as well. So if you're shooting a tier 2 enemy with a tier 1 weapon, it does half damage. So you have to match it with basically the tier. You don't have to. You still can kill them, obviously, but it's harder to kill them with the lower tiered weapon. And they mix in the higher tiers kind of willy-nilly. Early on, you really don't hit any 2s, but then you start seeing a lot more 2s before you ever have 2s unlocked. Because you have to upgrade your base to unlock the tier 2 weapon. And then upgrade it again to unlock the tier 3s. So I'm not a huge fan of that mechanic. It's really limiting on what you can do when and where you kind of want to go across the map. And then there's the wild animals that will just murder you because they're tier 3 and a tier 2 weapon isn't enough to keep them from murdering you. I'm glad I'm not playing this on hard because it would be miserable. I'm playing on normal and it's already annoying, but it's not a miserable experience. Playing on hard would be miserable. Excuse me.
And it just seems like, they would, those kind of limiting mechanics, I can understand having like the rocket launchers or your really sick, nasty sniper rifles be tier 3 weapons or something like that. But doing the same thing with the enemies and having the damage scale like that,
yeah. And the way
kind of seems limiting and iffy to me.
Yeah, the way the weapon tiers work too is that there's basically one of each in each tier. So like there's a tier 1 rocket launcher, there's a tier 2 rocket launcher, and there's a tier 3 rocket launcher. And there's actually tier 2 has 2 different rocket launchers, tier 3 has 2 or 3.
So the tier 3 snake comes out and you smoke him in the face with the tier 3 A10 strike. Or the tier 1 A10 strike, and he just shrugs it off and bites you and you die. Okay, so meh.
Yeah,
it becomes too video gamey to me.
Yeah,
it breaks immersion, I guess. Is the way to
phrase it. It's a funny statement to hear when talking about video games, but obviously we know what we're talking. I understand what you're talking about when you say it.
It just shatters my my connection to the character. It's like,
Yeah.
well, this should be killing them, outright. I just smoked this bear in the face with a rocket launcher. There's no bear on Earth that lives through rocket launcher shots. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And to be fair, I haven't shot a bear with a rocket launcher. Maybe that would help, but I stopped carrying it because I could only carry like 2 rounds for it. So I opted to carry a gun I actually could carry ammo for.
Yeah, maybe you should keep one around in case you're running that tier 3 cricket.
Oh, God. A tier 3 boar is what made me run away. It killed me.
That was one of the cool things, though, about that, because I haven't played one since Far Cry 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but my favorite thing was always baiting, like, the tigers and stuff into the little outpost camp things and watching them just eat people,
Uh-huh. You're one of those people.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that I just sit back and watch all the AI fight each other. It's amazing.
Yeah,
And
I do.
Back in the day, that was really fun to do.
I do like that part of the game where AI interacts. It's not unusual, to run around the map and there'll be gunshots, there'll be pedestrian, and then a enemy. But then there was a part I did in the game where you have enemies and then you have enemy animals. The enemy animals aren't in alliance with the enemies. So if I put the enemy between me and the animal, these tigers or wild dogs would go after the enemy instead of me. So I just sit back and shoot whichever one won.
Now, will they go after each other? So
yeah.
If you have like an enemy tiger and an enemy wild dog, will they fight each other?
I don't know. I think they're spread out too much to have that happen very often.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
that would be fun to see. Is like you got like a deer fighting a tiger, fighting a couple of squad of soldiers, fighting you.
Yeah, it gets pretty chaotic too. So at the very beginning of the game, I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure that I accidentally shot one of my teammates, the people that were on my side, and he started shooting me back.
Well, shit.
So I was like, wait, this guy's on my side. Why is he shooting me? So I shot him some more, and he shot me some more. And I was like, okay, screw you. And I left. Because I was like, I'm pretty sure that's a story character, not one that is happy with you guys anyway. So I think that he might be one of the only ones that does that, at least that part of the game, that's a main story character. Normal pedestrians, I'm pretty sure they do the same thing as well. If you shoot them, they're going to start shooting back. So that's a cool little thing. Do the normal
people just carry guns in this society?
Well, it's post-apocalyptic. So if you're out wandering the streets, yeah, you're going to. The people in settlements won't necessarily.
Makes a little bit more sense.
But you also typically can't use your weapons.
It's like the only valley that's not irradiated or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes slightly more sense than I was thinking GTA type pedestrian. You kept saying pedestrians. I was thinking, oh yeah,
NPCs.
They're just wandering around, going to get coffee or whatever, and then dude shoots them, and they're like, "Oh, fuck you, asshole."
Neutral NPC would probably be the better term. So I'll probably keep playing it some more just to get through story type stuff. I don't know how much more I'll play it. It was just kind of one of those things. I was like, yeah, I'll play for a bit. But so while I was trying to fix all the things, and after I'd closed my browser and made sure all my resources were cleared up on my computer, I went back to Metro Exodus, loaded it up, and while I was trying to figure out what was going on with Far Cry, after doing the closing things out and getting my resources super low on my PC as a baseline, I loaded up Metro Exodus again. This time, when I went to the store page, or not store, sorry, I was looking at the Steam store at the moment. When I went to the options screen, I had options this time.
Good job.
But there are 2 things missing. One, which I typically expect to be missing, is a lot of games now, and Far Cry had this actually, is you can choose which monitor you want to use for the game from the settings. So it'll automatically move it to the correct monitor, which is great in my split monitor setup. The other thing that was missing was a windowed mode or full screen windowed or any. You cannot change it out of full screen. You cannot alt enter. So I cannot play the game unless I want to play it on the wrong monitor. Now I could switch, what my primary screen is, and I'm sure that would fix it. But this is a very odd thing, and I purposely have my gaming screen, not to set the primary, so that any pop-ups, notifications, default windows, etc. don't show up on the screen. So that was a very odd thing to have happen. And that's kind of why I just went back to playing Far Cry, because I was like, okay, there might be an INI file because there's no FOV slider in the game, but you can modify the INI file to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I did not feel like messing with it at that point.
Yeah, that's one of the. And speaking of that game, just going off stuff I've been hearing about it, that's one of the games that's making heavy use of, what is it, the ray shading or ray tracing or something like that.
The RTX on the new cards.
That's like the big hot new deal.
Yeah, and it looks good.
And the graphics. Have you got it?
I don't, but I've seen some comparisons. And I saw Cocarnage start his gameplay. I didn't watch too much of it because I'm going to play through it myself. But it looked good. The game looks good.
I watched a little side-by-side comparison where they do the little slider across the screen to
I think we're talking
turn
about
it
the
on
same
and
thing.
off. And he just basically went through the opening, I guess, where he's looking around and he gets down the little manhole tunnel or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how much of a difference it makes. Mm-hmm. I was like, wow, this is a big difference.
Yeah.
I mean, if you weren't playing it with it on, you wouldn't know what you were missing.
Mm-hmm.
But when you turn it on, you probably wouldn't be able to go back to playing it the other way.
Yeah.
That and the only other thing I've heard about this game, besides having played the previous entries and knowing that, the series is really good, they got the controversy again. Oh my God, every game that comes out's got controversy now. What the hell's going on? Come on, gaming.
Yeah.
And it's not just gaming either. It's movies and freaking anime and everything's got controversy now. So apparently they made like a last minute decision to move this thing to the Epic Game Store or whatever.
Yep.
And they said they'd honor the Steam purchases.
Yes.
But you couldn't buy it there from now on.
For a year.
I won't be able to so I won't be able to pick this game up for a year because I'm not going to go on Epic Game Store and make a whole new thing for this. So that is what it is. But then like the developer pitched a fit and said, well, I'm not going to make, maybe
that was one guy.
PC games. Yep.
That was one guy.
And then you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the studio came out and said, look, we're not, this guy was emotional and he was mad because people were review bombing his games and, he'd worked really hard on all this stuff. And a decision was made that was not even under his control. And people are getting mad at him for it. So you take everything he says with a grain of salt. And by the way, it's not even us that did this. It's this other group, Deep Silver, that made this decision to do this.
It wasn't even Deep Silver. I believe it was their owners, Koch Media.
So they're like, don't blame us, blame them. And let's just everybody just calm the fuck down.
Yeah. Really,
oh, man.
Really, the only reason this is even a big deal, I think, is the how far along it was and how short notice it was. Mm-hmm. But I understand it at the end of the day. They want to make more money on the Epic store. The Epic is doing everything they can to pull devs over. Apparently, they've got Ubisoft with the Division now, which is odd to see because Ubisoft has their own platform too. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
weird. For people like me, where you've got the first two games on Steam, you just want to play the third one on Steam too.
Yeah. And I agree. Yeah. I actually own them on Steam as well.
It's like to just go ahead and click down. You got the next game. My Witcher series is broke up like that just by accident. I clicked it on GOG. I bought it on GOG, the third game on GOG instead of on Steam. But it is what it is. But to tell you how last minute this change was, I heard that the physical copies of the game that shipped, and yes, this game does have physical copies. Oh my God. They have a sticker on the back covering up the Steam logo and replacing it with a Epic Games Store.
Oh, I didn't hear they put a sticker on it. I know that the boxes had Steam logo on it, but I didn't hear they covered them up.
They've got a picture online of a guy peeling the Epic Games thing back, and there being a Steam logo underneath.
Nice.
Oh man.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna play the game eventually once I figure out this screen thing, but
maybe that would be a future episode. Because I know me and Mike had this discussion before he left on his little work vacation. It was, man, it's been controversies just keep on coming.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got Battlefield, you got before that you had the Battlefront, the Star Wars game, and all these little things just popping up over and over and over again. What the hell happened to my, nice harmonious gaming community? Anyway, it's a topic for a later day, but Jesus, come on. Y'all settle the fuck down.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess. That's the last game for my week. I do have some other stuff I could talk about, but I'll save that for after your week so I don't take up our entire episode again.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you've already taken up, 2/3 of it. What's the last third?
I'm just taking Michael's role. Taking his part
there you
too.
go.
His quota.
Gotta make up for the producer not being here.
Yeah.
Pulling his weight.
Yep.
Alright, let's see. What did I do for my week? My weeks are always short, so I've been catching up on Critical Role, which is something I haven't been too keen to do. D&D interests me. D&D is one of my great passions. But you come to me with the concept of, hey, let's watch other people play D&D, and I go, I want to fucking play.
Yeah.
And so I was like, maybe I'll check it out.
That's why I'm playing now, because I watched them and I was like, I want to play.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can see why, because let me tell you, their DM is the shit.
Well, yeah, it's Matt fucking Mercer.
I mean, I had no idea. He was that good. This guy is amazing. He's really quick on the rules. He's really quick on the improv, and his story is really robust. So, he's just, that's what a max level DM looks like.
Yeah.
His role playing's on point. His character, fucking dude's a voice actor. So of course he's got 4,000 voices to pull into. One thing I would like to make clear to anybody that is thinking about, DMing or, wants to get into D&D, don't expect your D&D game to be that.
Yeah.
Don't ever expect your D&D to. That is a experienced group of people that are very good at role playing, with a immaculate GM, with a very high dollar value setup, and obviously they've got some, they've got a lot of experience playing with each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they're all voice actors, if not visual actors as well.
Mm-hmm. So that's like dream group. I want to be part of that group. I think everybody does.
Yeah.
That's those guys are got it going on. The character concepts are just bog standard, but at the same time they work really well and they're very well fleshed out. And I was going through and the first thing I did was I took the cliff notes, because usually when I listen to something like a podcast or anything like that, that's something I'll listen to on the drive to work. And, okay, I'm going to going to the grocery store. It's going to be like a 15-minute drive. Let me listen to 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there, 5 minutes here. So, just in my free time, I went and I said, okay, well, let me see some of the cool stuff that's happened over the course of their, sessions. And like the stuff with Grog and his sword, I was like, oh man, that's really cool. Little aside thing. Some of y'all may know we've got a little D&D session going on our own little thing. I made a bard because I like making bards. I've had probably 3 prolific bards in my D&D career that were like, I should frame this character sheet type characters. But yeah, I was like, all right, let me just have a little dick measuring contest with this guy. Let's see where we're going with this guy. That guy's pretty fucking awesome. That guy's pretty fucking awesome. I like that guy. The guy who plays Scanlan.
Yeah.
I can't remember the actor's name. Sam.
Sam Riegel.
He's awesome. He's really fucking good at it. And they did the whole thing with the love potion and him stealing stuff and all kinds of little things that were going on. And I was like, oh man, this is this is some top tier shit right here. That was the kind of stuff, and the whole, I guess spoilers for Critical Role, the whole little plan thing that was going on in that final battle.
Oh yeah.
I was like, yep, that's some shit I would do. I'd be like, yep, I'm gonna stick it to this guy's plan, right at the end. I'm just gonna hold this spell slot and I'm just gonna let him have it. And then he's like, yep.
There's a whole thing around that too, because that wasn't what he was saving that for.
Really?
Yeah. That was oh shit decision making moment.
Mm-hmm. He was like, I'm going to I guess his plan was to hold that 9th level spell slot and then use a wish spell like right before that character dies at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And try to see if he can counteract it somehow. Like, maybe you just don't feel like making this. I wish you didn't do that. I wish you didn't feel this way. Wish you had a couple more years. Something. But, tactics happen, and you could see, like, mid-battle, he looks over and he's like, man.
Yeah, he actually breaks out in tears.
Yeah, he's hit. And the thing is it's one of those things where you get the feeling like you're in the know, and you can see like the two actors that are playing the characters. They're looking at each other like, I can't do it anymore. I just blew this. We're not going to be able to do that thing that I was hoping to do. And everybody else is kind of cheering like, yeah, we're messing this dude up. And they're like, yeah, we just lost. And I saw in the comment section, it said, yeah, everybody else was playing checkers. Sam was playing chess. And he lost.
Yeah. And you can kind of see the moment, too, when the rest start catching on.
Yep, everybody else is like, oh, yep. What's the matter? What is it? And then to see the result of that, oh, man. That's A-game D&D right there. That's S-class.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be intimidated by that. If you're new to D&D, if you're coming into D&D and this is your new hobby and you want to get into it, don't expect your first group to be like that. Don't expect your 50th group to be like that. These guys are, it's very obvious that they're all really good friends and they've all got experience in acting and putting themselves out there like that. You're going to find a lot of people that just don't have that mindset. They don't have it in them to fully embrace a character like that. Not everybody's going to get that far in, and you're going to find different levels of RP in different groups. There are some groups that are full on RP, and they'll have these big, long, winding conversations, and if that's what you're into, then you need to look for a group that's like that. But if you're just trying to get dragged into some random D&D game, or if you go to the Adventurers League, you're not getting that. Yeah. You are not getting that at all. Maybe 1 in a million, just happens to have the right people come together for that. But you can learn a lot about D&D by just watching them and watching how they play and what good characters do in good situations and what a good DM does. And that kind of spawned me into. So I was watching the Cliff Notes to all this and kind of just watching how they played their games and seeing some of the little storylines and plot lines go through. And oh man. So that sent me down the rabbit hole, man. That sent me down. I started looking. I was like, okay, this guy's got like DM tips and blah blah and all this other stuff. And I was like, oh, holy shit!
Yep.
So this entire thing that I didn't know about.
Yeah.
This entire thing.
When for our game, whenever you guys ask me, about a role or I have to make a decision on something, my first thought is, okay, have I seen this on Critical Role? How did Matt Mercer rule this? Okay.
What would Matt Mercer do?
That makes sense to me. Well, hold on, I'm not there yet. This is just what have I seen. And then if I haven't seen it, I go, well, okay, what would Matt Mercer do? That's step 2. And then step 3, I start Googling.
There you go. Yeah. Oh, man. And if there's one thing, I remember I was watching one of the things I watched, was the breakdown at the end of the season, because I was like, oh shit, let me see this, because they stopped that campaign, they started another one, they rolled new characters and all that. So I was watching the breakdown. They were like, well, how much stuff did they miss? And he's like, you have no idea how much shit they missed.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, Yeah, when the Underdark, there was like a whole nother portal to another dimension. All this stuff written down. Meh. It's like, there's this pyramid, yeah, like the town around it, and then like each floor of the pyramid had its own little thing. They flew over it and dropped a giant on it. All that's just wasted. It's like, yeah, so, it's tough being a DM.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Yeah, players like Adam, that tends to happen.
Yeah. I've always been one to think outside the box. I try not to push people outside their comfort zone, but I'm gonna get mine.
Yep.
That's how I roll. Is I try to remind everybody that this is it may be a game with rules and things like that, but anything that's inside the boundaries of those rules, it's fair game. It's a sandbox at heart. So finding little ways to circumvent stuff and doing all that kind of stuff, you can get into some cheap broken things. Yeah. I try not to be that guy that's like, well, technically the spell says that it works this way, so I'm going to use it to create this infinite damage loop. No, I'm not that guy. It's like, I'm going to reverse gravity and just slam you into the spikes over and over and over and over. No, that's not how I roll. But when it comes to, option A is to convince this lady this thing. Option B is to, steal it from her. What's option C? We can just make another one. Okay, cool. So that's how I approach my tabletop stuff. But looking at how they did their stuff, oh man.
Yep.
Oh man, we just had one more player like that. One more.
Yeah.
The things that would happen. And you can see like for RP purposes, a lot of the time they don't make the best decision for the group. Mm-hmm. Like Grog's keeping of that axe around. That was that had to play out in story.
Yeah.
They took that as far as it would go, and it takes because a lot of the times what you'll have is metagaming.
Yeah.
And that happened in Critical Role to an extent, as you can see, like, okay, the gears are turning, like, what are we going to do to stop this thing from happening? But when you look at it from a character development standpoint, you have, okay, well, he has these small interactions, he's learning a little bit more, but other characters jump in there and they just play off each other. And, they don't always come to the correct conclusion from this would be best from the gameplay perspective. Sometimes they sit there with that handicap and that, he's having to make a will save to stop from dropping this axe or, to stop from slitting this dude's throat with the axe. Or the sword, excuse me. But that kind of stuff, that's high level role play right there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting to watch. I instantly, the moment I started watching the first little bit, I was like, okay, well, let me see what all the fuss is about. I was like, okay, yep, I completely understand it now. I completely understand where people are coming from with this.
Yep. And I watch it every Friday because it's on so late Thursday. I watch every Friday morning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't wait every week.
To get you in the mood, just be like, yes, this is my thing. And like 10 minutes after it ends, you're just scribbling down notes. Like, here's my new idea. That made me want to run a campaign. That's what that did. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh yeah, here we go. That's some cool stuff, and they've got a lot of interesting scenarios too.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's one of those things where it's so fleshed out that Matt's world is a campaign. You can buy his campaign book.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, you can, and it gives you information on the world and plot points and all this stuff. He has a fleshed out world, and that's kind of what I look to emulate in world building myself. Him and a couple others I watch. How much you flesh out things. While still giving, that freedom to kind of do what they want to do and incorporate all the backstories in and all this. Because you would think that everything, well, I'd say you would think everything is built around the characters, to a certain extent. The world's there, but then he's so good at creating the hooks to characters' backstories, etc. Campaign 2, this is even more obvious because we see it from, episode 1. Well, technically, we see it from episode 1, but there's technically like episode 0 that they didn't record where they hit level 2 and met each other. So they didn't actually do that part. Or subparts, smaller sections of them met up. And then episode 1, they all come together. So it was much more organic. And then you're immediately jumping into their meeting. And their meeting involved, the first conflict as a group involves one of the characters, or actually two of the characters. So it's all integrated into the characters.
And one of the things I like about him is he's not afraid to kill off a PC.
Yeah.
Not afraid at all to kill off a PC. He's like, yep, he's hitting you while you're down.
Yeah.
he's got other people around him, and he's finishing this one first. And, stuff like that. It's just like, you can tell that this game is just, it's a very high level of play and a high level of RP, and there's a lot of synergy going on, people playing off each other, and, sometimes they do things that just make Matt shake his freaking head. That's always fun to see people's reactions, like, yep, I've had a couple moments like that in D&D, and, just figuring out, like, where, you'd be. So, like I said, I went in there and I checked out the bard specifically. And I was like, how's my bard stack up to his? It stacks. It's comparable, but I don't know if I'm on freaking, that level just because I absolutely no way I can play off people like that. But it's awesome. Awesome. Every single one of those characters is fleshed out. And they have enough shining stars in their D&D game to be, just create these massive things.
Yeah.
I can't remember if this was in the first, I think it was in the second campaign, but I did see one where like they took the dogs inside somebody's room and just had them tear the place up.
Oh yeah, that was in the first one.
Was it in the first one?
I believe it was near the end of the first one, yeah.
Yeah. And, the role play that happened after that, where they were chasing down all the wrong people.
Yeah.
And, that was great. That was immaculate because, in out of character, they all knew, who had done it. They knew exactly what had happened. But in character, they were like, this character is furious and she's just flying off the handle at the first person she sees each and every time. Had to be this person. Let me shake this person down. Okay, it wasn't them. Shake the next person down. Wasn't them. Shake the next person down. Threaten them, threaten their life. Oh, man, it was so good. So good. So, yeah, I've been getting caught up on that. Another thing I've been doing is, once again, catching up on all my anime. And, oh, God. Shield Hero is gonna be probably the biggest one out of this particular season, but Boogie Pop is coming up there. Boogie Pop is interesting because it's kind of a quasi mystery horror anime, and it's told to completion in the first episode, but everything's out of order, and you keep getting different perspectives in every new episode, and they add things. So in the first episode, you watch it and you're like, okay, that was kind of weird. Why did this happen? Why did that happen? It's a series of disjointed events following this one guy around. And then you watch the second episode and it comes from a completely different different character's perspective. And they fill in a couple of the gaps, but then they open up new gaps. And they just keep doing this episode after episode after. I almost feel like I shouldn't be watching this weekly. I should just wait for all of it to come out and binge watch it so I can follow it. And I'm probably going to have to go back and rewatch the whole damn series, but it is so good. Like, each one of them is good at being its own self-contained entity, and it's good at building on the greater narrative. So, hats off to them for doing a good job. And like I said, there's all kinds of different little, mystery and horror elements that are going on there, along with some philosophical things, and, very, very interesting. Shield Hero is, they put fucking chocobos in it, man. That's all I can say. No shit, go Google it. There are fucking chocobos in the series. They don't call them that because they get sued all to hell, but there are fucking chocobos in this game. are in this anime now. And, yeah, they had a chocobo race. It was awesome. And, they've had some more, lighthearted episodes after that super dramatic one I talked about on the last podcast.
Yeah.
So 2 episodes have come out since then, and both of them have been going back into that lull you into a false sense of security mode. So I'm waiting for like the next big like FU to come out.
Yeah.
And it's like, your chocobo has cancer. Get fucked. And yeah. So just waiting for that to happen. Couple other shows that have popped up on my radar. There's the Quintessential Quintuplets, which is about this guy trying to tutor 5 identical quintuplets.
Okay.
And like all of them have like different personalities, and they're all they all look exactly the same but have different personalities. So, and he's like scrounging for money, and none of them want to study, and they're all failing. It's turned out to be the good seasonal rom-com kind of deal. / harem kind of anime, which, you know, I'm harem trash, so I like that kind of thing. Let's see. Anything else? Still got Index going on. So that is starting to get into some of the more heavy elements from the light novel. And I am looking to see how all this stuff plays out with, I don't know if I've liked how they've handled all of this season so far, but I'm glad it's still being made, if that makes sense. I waited this long for this 3rd season. I'm at least getting to see it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's one of those things where is it as good as I wanted it to be? No, but at the same time, I don't know if they could have made this episode 3 or this fight 3 episodes long and still completed it, completed the story, in any kind of timely manner. So we'll see. We'll see. More to come. And that's about all I got. I tried to play Persona 5. I did. I mean, I popped over that PS4, like I told you, it's just like, update. I was like, no, not like this. I only have an hour. I could play Persona right now. And it was like, no, I'm going to take like most of your hour, dog.
Man.
And I was like, well, shit.
That sucks.
I was like, I actually felt like popping it back in. I was like, I'm ready. I'm going to do this thing again. I'm going to go in there and get cheated by this normal enemy. Just one-shots me. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to lose another 45 minutes. I'm going to turn it off, and I'll come back in a week.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. It was like, nah, I'm just going to load.
Man.
So, yeah. That was the conclusion of my gaming week. We've had a couple more things pop up in War Thunder. Community is sent into an outrage again because they're going to redo the, which I think is a smart move, actually. Instead of going... Previously, War Thunder, for those of y'all don't know, it's like historical World War II vehicles and some Vietnam era vehicles and more modern stuff they're starting to get into. They had been going off the documented test data for all their vehicles for like gun penetration values and top speeds and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they've recently switched over to using math instead. And that utterly wrecked some things. They were like, yeah, this number is obviously, completely inflated. This was like a propaganda number they must have put out because there's no way in hell this round at this velocity and this size could ever do this much. Unless it was made out of some kind of hyper dense material we didn't have, access to during World War II. So yeah, they're going back and it's caused an uproar in the community, and they're going to have to go redo their rating evaluations and stuff like that now. Wow. They ended up having to take 3 vehicles out of the game because their penetration values became so bad that like they were ineffective in battle.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and they got a video of one of the guys. If you had the vehicle previously, they are not going to take it away from you.
Sure.
But if you say you were to make an account tomorrow, you wouldn't get it.
Man.
So if you've got the vehicle, you get to keep it. But the video on Fly Daily, one of the channels I watch, he pulled this thing out and he shot this tank in the tracks, which is like the easiest thing in the world to pin. It's like, if you don't even have a gun that's capable of hurting this tank, you can pop its tracks off by just wailing on it, right? Take the 50 cal and just, wail on the tracks for a minute, and they'll break. He shot this tracks like 4 or 5 times with the main gun, and then we're just like, meh. It's like, what? No. And he started playing like sad music in the background. This poor tank just goes around. Oh man. So yeah, the Japanese apparently did not have a very good round in their tank, nor did the French. And based off their the calculations, they would not have been able to handle much combat. So yeah, community's in uproar, fire and brimstone everywhere, cats and dogs living together, pandemonium. But that's about all I had for my week as far as gaming is concerned.
Okay. So if you don't mind then, I'd like to take a moment to talk about Unity.
Talk about Unity.
So,
well, people have to come together.
Unity, the application for making games.
Oh, that Unity.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I talked about this before, I was looking into it, kind of learning it. Well, okay. So here's the thing. Unity primarily uses C# for scripting. Same thing I use in Visual Studio for what I've done my Twitch bot on. Well, so I'm like, okay, I'll just kind of, move code over to reuse and stuff. And I'm like, all right, well, a Twitch bot or something that, is based off Twitch chat needs to be able to access Twitch chat. That's kind of an integral part of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, so I'm going to get my form and then I'm going to add a text box and start pulling in the Twitch chat via IRC connection, and I'll have output and stuff. I can see it on screen, etc. No, on any level. So first off, in Visual Studio, I want to put a scrolling text box on the screen. I just drag and drop one from the toolbox onto the screen. Bam, I have it. Easy enough, right?
Yeah.
So in Unity, it's not so easy. So you have a text box thing, which that works fine. But it doesn't have a scroll bar associated with it. So let me put it this way. It took me probably 3 hours to get a working text box with a scroll bar. And that's not including the time it took me to figure out how to get Unity to connect to an IRC channel and you pull that data and send data back.
Wow.
My God. I want so bad to remake what I've made into Unity so then I can make it better. But every single step, I'm essentially having to start from scratch because despite it using C#, the dependencies aren't there, or they are there, but they use different syntax. It's just a mess. So I'll be like, yeah, I want to do this. Like my goal for that one day was, okay, let's pull an IRC chat. Okay, I did that. It took me a couple hours, a few different YouTube videos and example scripts to get it to work, but I finally got it working. And then I needed to output it so I could see it, which was is a little bit of overlap. But like I said, it took me like 3 hours to get a working text box, and it still doesn't scroll properly. It scrolls, but only for the text that is in there when I create it.
And see, this is one of those things where because you're all self-taught on your programming, right? You didn't go to school for that,
right?
So you're going off, just what you know. I wonder if there's like some kind of unwritten rules that like maybe they just have in there where it's like, okay, well, like if a guy that programmed for a living just walked up, would he know exactly? Oh, okay. Well, let me just pick it up from here. Boom, and he shits it out in 5 minutes.
So
whereas it took you 3 hours.
Here's the thing: I am a guy that programs for a living, and one of my things has always been, if you know one programming language, you have a fairly easy entry into another language. It's all about learning syntax, etc.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't apply here at all. Because I'm using C#. C# is what I'm familiar with. I taught myself C# for, my Visual Studio work. I'm okay with that there, unless, I have to do something crazy. But I'm redoing something I've already done. But because of the way Unity itself works, there are a lot of differences. So unless you've been using Unity, you're going to have a certain curve. There are certain types of programmers that would be able to jump into it and have an easier time, but it's not programmers in general. It's a much more specific skill set and type of things.
So it's something about the way Unity talks to other programs or interfaces, or
it's mainly how it interfaces and how it structures everything on it. I had previously looked at a couple other programs, like Amazon has Lumberjack, which is a program like Unity but free, and it had a completely different UI and stuff. So now that I think about it, I might load up Lumberjack and try doing the same steps I was doing in Unity and see just how much different it is. And I'm assuming it's C# behind it, so see what carries over from that. Maybe I'm in the wrong for using Unity. Maybe I should be using Lumberjack. But I have had... I'm
a big fan of RPG Maker.
I have that as well. But that's too limiting. I bought it. I bought way too much extra stuff with it, and then couldn't do what I wanted to do. So I was very disappointed. I should have asked for a refund, but I was like, no, maybe one day I'll use it. But yeah, it's way too limiting. It has a specific thing it's good for, but overall, there's not enough flexibility. I mean, I think at the point where you're getting RPG Maker to do the advanced things like I would want to do, you might as well be using Unity or Lumberjack or some other, game making program, because you're going beyond what the game normally does. You're adding to it. You're adding add-ons or, special whatever to it.
There you go.
But yeah, so I've put a bit more time. I spend a lot more time thinking about Unity than I do actually trying stuff in Unity, because I've had so many issues that I'm having to think out so much more about what I want to do before I ever touch it, because I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do. Unity does not give you the tools to do this directly, like text box. Okay, I have text, I have a scroll bar. Even combining those two isn't enough. You have to have a container around them, a certain type of container around them, and then point things to other things and add things to the container so that they can connect. And yeah, so it's a lot more complicated. So I'm trying to figure out how I can do what I want to do the easiest way possible, while also adding a little bit more of a UI to it. Because right now, all my bot is basically a window with a bunch of text boxes, where it shows me all the log of everything that's happening. I have a table that tracks, experience and stuff, and that's pretty much all the UI is. But I want to add more to it so it becomes more of an actual game. I was originally looking at, actually turning it into basically a mobile game, but now I'm like, no, there's no way I could do that yet. I'm just going to create it for myself, so I run it locally and maintain it like I do now, just with a prettier UI, and then I'll see what I can do. Because even getting to that point is going to be horrendous.
That sounds like a headache.
Yeah.
Just trying to get things to mesh correctly.
Yeah, so I had that much trouble, connecting to an IRC channel, which is the basic type of connection. My database is stored in Amazon and AWS. So now I need to figure out how to connect my game to AWS, and that doesn't look fun. So now my alternative
so now you're just reevaluating.
Yeah. So then I'm like, okay, well, maybe I don't do that. Maybe I just store everything local again, because I liked having it in Amazon, because then I could pull it like on my website. I have queries going back to it where it pulls the like the equipment list and stuff like that. So you don't have to do everything in browser. You can also do it, or in Twitch chat rather. You can also do it in a normal web browser on a web page. So it's yeah.
That sounds complicated.
It is.
And I wish I knew a little bit more about programming. I've got a good one of my best friends is actually he does that for a living, and he tells me he's just like you. He starts off on these things, and I'm like, programming sounds really hard. And he's like, it's really not. Once you get one language, it's all you know everything, and it's like, yep, you say that, but that's that first hurdle.
Yeah.
That first hurdle, and I'm looking up at it like, man, that's a big ass mountain.
It's so programming isn't that bad. It's a lot of logic is really what it comes down to. You just have to put things in the right order and then figure out the syntax to do what you want in a normal one.
Yeah.
For Unity, that goes out the window because it's the whole mess.
Well, I know the Microsoft Visual Studio or whatever it was called. I went on, because I had high aspirations. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll make me a little text game, and it'll have little boxes you click, and you move your character around on this little baby basic map, and it'll be fucking easy. Nothing too hard. I had like a little damage system mapped out in my head, like, okay, da 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 da, and I got started just going back through all this, and it was just just the first little bit. It's so intimidating to try to learn that kind of stuff. And it's one of those things where I was like, I'm gonna have to put this down and wait until a day where I just do not have a pile of laundry that I need to go to. And maybe when my kids are a little older and they're, taking care of 50% of the house's chores, I can get to the point where I've got time to study this kind of stuff. But
and Visual Studio, it was certainly intimidating, getting into it at first, because I've never used Visual Studio for like work. Because of the type of programming I do is mostly web-based, and
I think one of my big mistakes was I downloaded all the little plugins.
Gotcha.
I went on there and it was like, yeah.
And when you create a new file, it's like, okay, well, what template do you want to use? And there are like 100 templates. But there are a couple that are just basic, and that's what I did. I just picked, Windows Form. I don't care. This is for me. I don't need it to run, cross-platform. I'll just create a Windows form, and I'm like, okay, well, I need a text box. I drag and drop a text box. Okay, I that's exactly what I wanted. I want a drop-down menu, the file menu. I want that. Okay, well, let me drop a drop-down menu on the file location. Okay, that all works great. Unity, it's like, you have to build everything yourself. You want a drop-down? You build every part of that drop-down yourself.
You bastard.
So in Visual Studio, I just focus on the C# programming, on actually typing code. In Unity, I have to deal with objects and properties.
You have to set up like the baby. You have to create the tools you need to get to that point. Yeah, and basically,
I've been going through the Unity Asset Store because there are a fair bit of stuff on there for free, just trying to find anything I can use. Like with the IRC thing, that connection, I was looking at IRC clients that were free from the Unity store, and I downloaded a couple just to look at their code. And it was one of those things where I was like, okay, I want this part of it and this part of it, but it didn't work. I had to take all of their code and then it would work. If I just typed it up myself on the way I wanted to do it, it doesn't work. But it's doing the same exact thing, but it doesn't work. Like the example had 2 files. Mine, I was just combining into one because I didn't need both parts. I just wanted to run all at the same time. And that didn't work. Same code, 1 file, doesn't work. So I'm like, okay, fine, 2 files. You win, Unity. Just let me have my text box and IRC connection. That's all I want.
And it's like, okay, you get one, but it's this shitty one.
So it's
no scroll bar for you, buddy.
It's a hell of a learning experience, that's for sure. And
those are the best kind of ones because those are the ones you don't forget. Like you learn things the hard way, and they stick with you.
Yeah, it's also completely changed, how I've thought about making my game. Like I was talking about, like I have all my stuff stored in a database, but the Amazon connection and all the things I'd have to do for that may just be too much that I just scrapped the database part of it, and I just store everything locally in the game, like most games do. It was already going to pull stuff in and store it while you're playing, or just do that, like unload, query the database so that I could centrally control it. But it may just be in the game, at least for now. Start out with, do it by steps is kind of the way. It's a smart way to develop anyway, take steps.
Yeah. Baby steps, lots of notes.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of notes. I remember I had that programmer friend I was telling you about. When he was going through college, I remember one specific thing. I don't know what it is, but I know apparently there's something you have to build called a compiler.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have no idea what the fuck that is or what it does, but I imagine it compiles stuff.
Yep.
So he had to make one of these for college, one of his classes, and he could not get this thing to fucking work. And it was like, he was going through it, and he was like, man, I'm having to go back through it line by line and figure this thing out, and there's just something that's fucked up, and things not coming out right. And it ended up being in a completely different place than where he thought that the problem was. And, yeah, so I get what you're saying when you're mentioning all this stuff. Like, it sounds like those kind of problems are pains in the ass. I remember all the horrible amounts of bitching that he did.
Yeah, but like I said, I do programming stuff kind of for a living, so I'm used to running into issues. It's just, even by my normal standards, it's been wild.
Well, I mean, that's about I want to say not exactly the easiest thing to just like pick up and do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I imagine me trying to do it, and I'm like, yeah, well, I wouldn't get out anywhere. I've just been like, fuck it, I'm done.
I've had
I
several
couldn't
days
even make
where I did that.
I could take like the bog standard, like most easy to program thing, and I couldn't make that fucking text box pop up if you fucking gave me half the code. So don't worry about it. You got farther than most people will. Oh, you got anything left?
No, that's
that it
I've
for
complained
your,
enough.
Is that all you're complaining?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there are lots of ways to get in touch with us. You can go on the email and check that out. It's timecast@gmail.com. Funny numbers and stuff. Check Twitter out, Facebook. It is what it is. I don't give a shit.
YouTube now.
Yeah, YouTube. Yeah. YouTube. Anyway, that's it for this week. Until next time, I'm Adam.
I'm Chris.
Bye, bitches.